The Cardinals finished their home schedule this past weekend, and the Redbirds finished with a home record of 44-37. Matthew, they're 32-43 with 6 road games left. After a 2-12 start on the road, they got to 21-21. Now on the road, they're 32-43. So they've gone 11-22 since they got to 500. If they had been able to maintain a 500 record on the road, they'd be right now a game ahead of both the Mets and Cincinnati for the wild card. And if they finished at 500 on the road, which would be 40-41, I'll give them the loss rather than the win, they would be like 4 ahead of those teams. So just a few victories on the road would have made a huge difference. Well, not a few. 8 is a pretty substantial number, but still, if you were 21-21 on the road, if you would have been able to finish 500 on the road, the old adage, play 500 on the road, win 2 out of 3 at home, they wouldn't have even needed to win 2 out of 3 at home. 44-37 at home was going to be fine to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, it's a really big disappointment there, and I got to correct some of my math on the graphic there. They went 11-22 since that little stretch, not 11-12. 11-22 was the stretch they went on since this, and that's where things fell apart, and that's where they could have really locked things in and made things happen. To your point, if they just could have gotten to 40-41 on the road, they would have 84 wins right now. They'd have 6 more road games. They could conceivably win a few more, and like you said, put themselves in a power place for a playoff position, which is shocking. And that's not the first time that we've talked about some of these numbers and been like, wow, I can't believe this team was close to being a playoff team, but apparently they don't really care about that much.
Well, here's the thing. If that's 8 games, that's a lot of games that you have to win. And the fact of the matter is the Cardinals just are not that good. So even though we say they were close, the fact of the matter is they're 18 games out in the division and in the wild card, and I think they could be eliminated tonight in their game against the Giants. But the Cardinals are 4 behind with 6 to play in the wild card race, and they're under 500. They're 76-80. So as Tony La Russa would say, never even talk about the playoffs until you get to 500. Get to 500, then get +5, +10, then you can start talking to me about the playoffs. But never talk about the playoffs when you're when you're below 500. And I agree with that.
I love philosophy. That. Yeah, I love that philosophy. I like this from Graham. Think about how much Michaelis has contributed to what you're talking about. Sub-4 ERA at home has to be over 6 ERA on the road, and he does a little double check there. Yep, 6.33 on the road, 3.42 at home.
Great one. And another one that is fair is once you saw that Eric Fetty was not going to be good, and he was actually okay in April and May, but once he went down the tubes in June, if you would have gotten rid of Eric Fetty right then, at the right around the 4th of July, you would have been able to plug in McGreevy then and maybe get a few more wins, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in games that Fetty started, the Cardinals were 9 games under 500, and in games that Michaelis started, they were McGreevy started 5 games over 500. So that disparity, that's an 18-game swing. That's got you right there with the Brewers. If Michael McGreevy pitches the way that he has all season, and you get rid of Eric Fetty. And let's see, they got rid of Eric Fetty. Let me get the exact date, because I don't remember. I just remember him
July 21st.
So it was a couple of weeks later. Okay,
I want to say I'm taking a wild guess at that one.
So he his last start was July 22nd for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's close.
And then he pitched for Atlanta on the 29th. So I don't know, the timing there. You should have gotten rid of him earlier, because he started losing on May 14th. He took a loss, pitched okay. On May 20th, he allowed 4 in 5 innings. On May 26th, he allowed 5 runs in 5 innings. So then things are starting to get out of hand for you. Then he has a decent start against Texas. Then against the Dodgers, he was really good. But then after that, 3 runs in 5 1/3. He was never going 5 innings for you. 7 runs on, I said right around the 4th of July. 7 runs in 5 innings, or in 3 2/3 on June 25th. And then on June 30th, he allows 7 in 5 innings, and then he goes 1 1/3 and allows 3. So
he was
4th of July.
Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. They wasted their time, but I mean, that's not, in my opinion. You just talked about it with Brooke over the weekend, and kind of the and Katie Wu did an article as well, just the kind of the lack of answers that they got this year, and that's to me the larger crime of this season. By the way, we're getting a couple more questions because people are seeing that we're on now at a new later time. Cole Bassett's left foot. Is this the new time for the show? Enrico Palazzo just came in. What happened at 10 a.m.? Things had to change. Enrico Palazzo, Randy Karraker's schedule had to change, so our schedule had to change. But now the first Randy Karraker that you're getting in the day is right here on STL Sports Central at 3 p.m. every single day on the weekdays. We're coming to you at 3 p.m. a little bit later on in the day. Of course, you can always rewatch the show whenever you want at your convenience. On YouTube, you can get the audio version wherever you do get your podcasts as well.
Lex Luthor, the MLB playoffs might be the most bloated in sports, even more than the NBA. I think, yes, because of the number of mediocre teams. And this is, again, we talked last week about a salary cap. And this is one of the reasons that MLB could use a salary cap, because you have the haves and the have-nots, and you really don't have much middle ground. You have teams that are dominant, and you have teams that are just not that good. Whereas in the NBA, you have, and the NHL, you have 16 playoff teams, but the talent is spread across all the teams, so that even a team that makes the playoffs as the 8th seed in its conference, like the Kings did about a couple of decades ago, those teams have a chance. The Blues, when they went to the Stanley Cup, they were a 6th seed, something like that, 5th seed. And last year, the Oilers were a lower seed and went to the Stanley Cup Finals. The talent level is spread more evenly among those other sports than in baseball. So we can look right now at the teams that have the best records in all of baseball, and then compare that to the teams that have the highest payroll, and they're actually pretty close. It's not exact because Milwaukee has the best record, but Philadelphia has a top 5 payroll. They've got the second best record in the National League. The Blue Jays have a top 10 payroll and just gave a guy $500 million. They have the best record in the American League. The Dodgers we know about. The Cubs up the ante a little bit this year with Kyle Tucker. The Yankees have a top 3 payroll. So normally in baseball, at least in the regular season, payroll equates to success in the regular season.
And I'm glad we're talking about the NBA, because this brings us into our big topic for today's show. And you've already heard on STL Sports Central today, Bernie Miklasz talking about the Cardinals going into a rebuild. And you heard, or you should have read, Katie Wu's piece over the weekend that came out with the phrase multi-year rebuild. So that's kind of the big thing that we're going to be focusing on today. And first of all, and I'm glad we're talking about the NBA, because I'm going to preface this by saying, in the NBA, if you're a 500 team, you usually do need to rebuild. That usually is a sign that actually, okay, we're not getting top draft picks. We're probably a mid-market that can't buy a big name free agents. So we have to tank, get the top draft pick, because that's the only way we're going to ever have a perennial all-star player, i.e. the Milwaukee Bucks in the Giannis Antetokounmpo situation. The point there is obviously is they didn't tank. They got him with the 16th overall pick. So you either have to hit with absolute unbelievable luck, making the greatest ever NBA draft pick if you're the Denver Nuggets to get a Nikola Jokic, or you can draft a bunch of times really high up, a la the original Oklahoma City Thunder when they built with all those players. Right. So usually in the NBA, if you're in 500, you're in a dead zone. But the Cardinals are sitting here, to your point. They could have been an 84-win team, maybe even more wins, if they just were able to play as well at away from home as they were at home.